Touchdown and tackle the sale. Sports and Shopping's podcast with Doug Plank, former Chicago Bears player and NFL coach and college coach, and Megan, former Mrs. Texas, weekly podcast, Saturdays at 11 a.m. Pacific. Non-stop excitement and stories. Don't forget to find us at sportsandshopping.com.
Don't you think, though? I look back on my life, and there's a lot of people that I've met in high school, college, and in the NFL, and even after the NFL. You know, mostly business people that are their own entrepreneurs. That they have their own business or they have a franchise. And you don't have to be a genius. You know, you don't have to be like a Shark Tank genius and say, "Oh, I'm going to start something out of nothing." No, some of the most successful people I've met in my life were from franchises. You know, they were with McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's and other fast food, but they also did other things. It wasn't an idea that they came up with, but they just found something that fit their goals and their skills. And
that's something I wish I would have known about at a younger age, because the whole franchise concept, there's so many things, the older you get, I heard someone say the other day, you can't buy wisdom. Like wisdom is and I thought to myself, that is so true, because all of the mistakes that I have made have because of I didn't know, you know what I mean? Like you don't know what you don't know. Yes. And I wish that wisdom, it could come a different way versus just experience and age.
Yeah, the school of hard knocks. I grew up in a family. My father worked in a factory his whole life. And so he never really sat me down and told me about stocks and bonds and mutual funds and securities and puts and calls on stock choices or trades. I didn't know any of that. I mean, I was so far. But you know what, though? We all can learn. And it's just a matter of our own little personal appetite for when I would talk with people and they would say words that I didn't know, I should have said, stop, call, time out. What does that word mean? I didn't say that. You know what? I'm almost like writing it down mentally. Okay, security, whatever it was. I would go back and literally look it up in a dictionary afterwards. And so I learned, but, by just doing it over and over and over again. And it was one of those things that I thought, it really gave me a great foundation when I finally left home and even went to college. Wow, to meet people that you would have met in your life and start learning, topics and classes and things like that were sophisticated, but forced you to study. I'm like everybody else. I went through high school. You know what? I never really had to study. Every word, term, I've heard it already. I was good at math, so I could add up, 1 + 1 is 2 and all that kind of stuff. And I can divide and multiply and get the square root. So that was no problems. Certain things like history and things like that, those things are important. But, I say there's really just a handful of topics and classes that are either going to determine whether you're going to be a successful person or disappoint yourself. I don't want to say a failure, because I don't think anybody ever really fails, but they just don't achieve what they could.
Or really embarrass yourself. You just made me think of something, probably one of the most embarrassing things. When I was a financial planner, talking about words that you don't know. Well, I just would, in my mind, I just kind of thought I knew, right? And so this was so embarrassing, but I had a phone call. When we were financial planners, we were going to a convention. And one of the financial planners called me up, and obviously they were joking, but they said, "Oh yeah, we can't wait to see you guys. We're going to have a menage. We'll meet for a menage a trois or something." I can't even say it. Anyways, I figured it was like a coffee or something. And I said, "Sure, Zeke, we'd love to meet you." Well, so anyways, my regional boss calls me and he says, "Megan," because he knew me very well. And I was one of the number one financial planners. He goes, "Do you know what a menage a trois is?" And I said, "Oh, I figured it's a coffee or something." And he's like, "No." Now, mind you, he was in his 70s at that point. And I said to him, "What?" He almost was like I was almost like his daughter. You know what I mean? Because he was my big boss. And
Sure.
he explained it to me, and my face just got so red over the phone. And I said, I am so embarrassed. And he goes, I knew you didn't know what that was. He said, you're too innocent. And he said, but he goes, for future reference. And I'm like, oh, geez. And he goes, of course they were joking with you, Megan. But anyways, that was a point where I said, you know what, I'm not going to pretend to know what something is, because that was horrible.
Yeah, because you just try to just fake it. And, what they say, fake it till you make it.
Wrong.
I tried that a bunch of times too.
Yeah.
And, sometimes it worked out really well for me. Other times not so well. But I found out after a while, if I could start associating myself with people that really knew things that I didn't know, yes, it's important to learn things in classrooms and things like that, but you don't get the full picture in a class. You can't be a good father or a teacher or whatever just by learning it in a classroom. I mean, you can learn facts and statistics, things like that, but you really need to have some real training. I mean, just real life experience.
Hands-on experience.
Yeah. And get the confidence what it's going to take afterwards. And I always believed in the philosophy: tell somebody how to do it, show them how to do it, and then let them do it. I mean, that was my philosophy in Burger King.
That's a great philosophy.
Tell them, show them, let them go. And, it's a pretty quick process. It could take just 3 minutes, 1 minute for each one of them. And after that, then just after repetition, people get pretty good at things, and then all of a sudden it's just memory. It's like getting on the bike. Do you really think about trying to ride a bike when you get on it? I don't. My butt hits the seat. Okay, here we go. And I just start pedaling and steering. And that's how we are right now. Too many of us are in that mentality. We're in the bicycle mode where every single day we do the same thing over and over without thinking about it. We don't want to take any risk, and I don't blame people for that. But they stay on this little path that they're never going to succeed because they don't do enough to succeed, but they're never going to fail because they've chosen a low route in life to take. And I have to tell you, that was so many people that I knew in my life from where I grew up. Nobody was going for the gusto. They weren't, the pedal to the metal wasn't happening. They weren't putting forth all the effort that they could. And I just said, you know what? Even when you fail, it's okay to fail. I mean, you actually get smarter and you get better. And everything in my life, that I really regret, I look back on, it's not the things that I failed at, tackles that I missed or tests that I didn't score high enough on. It was things that I never did. I could have tried it. I could have gone in a different direction, but you know what? I either was timid, scared, or I just didn't feel like I wanted to put the time and energy. And I look back now, my wife happens to have 3 brothers that are doctors. So you can imagine every single time we get together, it's acronym, conversation. They're talking about terms and medicines and medications. I have no idea what they are or physical terms, but I'm thinking, you know what? I would have loved
all your injuries. That's really positive to have.
Yes, that's it. I would have
all
known
your medical injuries
to me.
3 brother-in-laws who are doctors.
Well, the one was an orthopedic, and then one was a neurosurgeon too. So, when I got knocked out all the time, I went down there and he did a bunch of tests for me, as far as my spine is concerned. And but these were smart kids. They weren't any smarter than I was, but you know what? Incrementally, they decided where they wanted to go in life. And their mother was a nurse, and I think she just lit a fire in all these kids when they were younger to go on into medicine. And I'm thinking, you know what? I just wish, I could have had, that fire inside of me, but I was really so focused on athletics, just trying to get by.
Well, you had fire inside of you. You don't get to the NFL without fire inside of you. Give yourself some credit there. And play for 8 years for the Chicago Bears. I mean, come on. There was fire burning.
You know what? There was. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, there was. And it was, some years I would look at all this competition was in front of me, bigger, faster, stronger. And I'll take a deep breath and say, somehow, I don't know how, I'm going to end up the starter out of this group of men, because every single year, they have a draft from college. They're drafting the best of the college class, each year. Those players, defensive backs, quarterbacks, receivers, and these guys would come in. I mean, they were all bigger than I was, and faster. And but you know what? There's one thing that they just weren't willing to do as much as I was: run into somebody full speed. I don't challenge anybody to do that, because whether it's with a car or your body, something's going to give. Sooner or later, something is going to give. And I'll say this though: you can scare people. When you're willing to do things, I call it suppression of my survival instinct, because we all have an instinct to live. We don't want to jump off a cliff. We don't want to run. We don't want to drive our car into a brick wall. But you know what? That's the mentality you had to have playing football. I said, you know what? I don't care how big they are. I would just imagine myself literally running through them full speed. And in my dreams.
Exactly what you did.
Yes. So when I would get on the field, I go, I've already done this. I did this last night in my dream. So I'm going to do it again today. And you could make other people scared of you, so, but you can do that in any business or any goals in life. If you really make up your mind and determination that nothing will stop you. I had a college coach that said, those that fail to plan to fail. So in anything that you do, sports, business, anything that you're trying to accomplish, if you don't have a plan and you have nothing, no idea how to get there, you're going to fail. And so when I came into Ohio State, I really made a plan for myself. I was going to have to be stronger. I was going to have to be a lot more aggressive. And I was going to have to play with a determination like I've never played before in my life. And when you do that, all of a sudden people just get out of your way. I mean, the pathway opens up and you go, there it is. There's where I want to go.
I know. Well, I love it. I love it. Like I told you, I can sit and visit with you for hours and hours and hours. And that's why I feel very selfish in a sense. I'm so excited that I get you for 30 minutes to an hour every week to talk to.
Well, no, but your story is the same. I mean, you had tremendous success, and I think, so a lot of people can say, well, geez, I'm not big enough to play in sports. I can't dunk a basketball. I can't run the fastest in the, 100 yards or 100 meters, whatever the case might be, and maybe that's true. But you know what? Here's what I always wanted to do. I always wanted to find out. I don't care what it was, tiddlywinks, chess. I was a chess champ when I was a younger person because I loved strategy and thinking ahead. And
have you watched The Gambit?
Yes, it's just like life.
Show on Netflix.
Yes, it's one of those things that if you don't think ahead, then all of a sudden when your opportunity comes, you're not going to be ready for it. You're not thinking and planning and doing all the things that you have to. Now, some of those things maybe require you to read something or in my case, physically to get stronger. Coming back to the garbage trucks, it was a smelly job, okay? It wasn't the greatest job. Here's what it did though, and I found out, it made me a stronger person. Here's how I found out. I was always wrestling with my brothers, as I told you earlier. When I worked 1 year on this garbage truck, especially playing the game as fast as we can, we're throwing garbage cans around. Now, all these cans are anywhere between 40 and 100 pounds.
Yeah.
We did hundreds and hundreds of cans every day. Going through neighborhoods, dumping the trash can. It made me a stronger person. I didn't know this until I started wrestling with my brothers. I could put both of my brothers on the ground and just literally hold them down. One arm. And my parents would go, Doug, stop. You're going to hurt them. And I said, you know what? This body was made for collisions. and strength. And so why not try to take advantage of it?
Oh, I got a good one for you. You can tell me. So one of my friends from high school, after high school, he became a garbage man. And I remember I had gone back to visit when I was in college to see my parents, and he still lived there. I went to his house. His whole house he had furnished with furniture he had found on his roof.
It's amazing. Like I said,
I've driven by furniture on the side by the garbage can, knowing it's going to be thrown away, and I've picked up a chair. But when I saw that, I was like, "Holy smokes!" I could totally see his whole house. Everything was from his route.
That's that's a story that I've seen on a lot of cases.
So you confirmed it. I couldn't believe it.
Absolutely. You know what? Being a young person with a mother and father, I really wasn't looking for furniture or anything like that. But there were other things in there. I mean, like little jewelry and stuff like that, and watches, and I mean everything you could possibly imagine. Like I said, some of the things that they put in there, they shouldn't have put in there. They used to be living beings, and there was no people in the garbage cans. But
I was just gonna say, I hope there were no.
It's just pets and things like that. I mean, come on. I don't know. I could never have done that with any pet that I ever had in my life. And
crazy.
It's just, you take the lid off, and all of a sudden, you see that, and you're going, really? I mean, come on. It's. I almost like looked up to the house every time, and if they were ever looking out at me in the window, going, "You got to be kidding me! You can't, do this." So, but I learned a lot about life. I grew up fast, and like I said, that garbage business started me on my long path for lifting weights. And there's no doubt in my life, without being able to maximize my body as far as my strength and determination, I never could have succeeded in sports. And I have a lot of it to owe that first job, because it taught me a lot about life and hard work and what it was going to take to be successful.
I never thought of it that way, but I'm going to tell you, the bakery job definitely gave me discipline to get up early in the morning. And I've gotten up early in the morning my whole life. I've gotten up between 3:30 and 4:30 my whole life. And you know what? That probably was the start of it. So, Doug, I'm so excited to visit with you always. All right. So should we call it a Saturday for today and go enjoy our Saturdays and come back next week?
Yeah. You know what? There's always, I guarantee you, between now and next week, there's going to be so many things happen to us that we could talk another 4 or 5 hours about. But I always try to take everything that ever happens to me. I'm going, wow, I wonder how I can use this in my life.
Well, let's figure our listeners have probably, what do you think the average car ride, even with COVID, is 30 to 40 minutes? So,
yes.
So they should probably be able to listen to us during that time while they're driving to work and back and forth, right?
It's amazing. The job, when I had this few jobs that I had that were at the same place every day, I would, instead of going the same way every day, I would always try going a different way. You know what? I learned things. I discovered things that were there that I never would have known otherwise. And I was always asking people questions too, like, who they were, why are you doing what you're doing? What was so great about the job? I mean, isn't it really a fair question to say, why are you doing this? Tell me, maybe there's something there that I don't know about that I need to know about. So maybe I could do the same thing you're doing. And, it was, I think, my best job, other than working with the Chicago Bears in college. We had a great relationship with one of the companies that was in Columbus, Ohio, Anheuser-Busch.
Oh.
And the athletic department, the football players would work at the Anheuser-Busch plant in Columbus, Ohio. That was the greatest job ever. We lived in Ohio where the drinking age was 18. They had 3-2 alcohol, so lesser alcohol. And but you know what? I learned, it sounds like a great idea until you get sick a couple times and you go, this isn't such a great idea. Drinking this much alcohol before I don't even know who I am. And you're stumbling and fumbling, and people are taking pictures of you. So you just learn, you learn not only what to do, but you learn what not to do.
That's awesome. All right. Well, you enjoy your Saturday.
And you
we appreciate all of the listeners and the viewers. It's fun that we're doing video and audio. I'm super excited about that. So we appreciate all the listeners and all the viewers. And same time, same place, Saturdays at 11 a.m. Pacific time.
Yes.
And we're rolling out live. So eventually, Doug, we're going to be going live on all of our social media platforms for Sports and Shopping Podcast.
I love it. I love it.
Touchdown and tackle the sale. Sports and Shopping's podcast with Doug Plank, former Chicago Bears player and NFL coach and college coach, and Megan, former Mrs. Texas, weekly podcast, Saturdays at 11 a.m. Pacific. Non-stop excitement and stories. Don't forget to find us at sportsandshopping.com.